Welcome in once again, guys. We're here to feed that Yu-Gi-Oh cardboard addiction, guys. You guys already know. And today we have Aaron McInnes, none other than the man himself. Been posting a lot of content lately, great information, bringing on pro players to his channel, collabing also with Triff, with big content creators, has a podcast type vibe to the channel, locals, vlogs, e-ban list prediction, deck profiles, guys, you name it. Very complete channel, pushing 2K, guys. First link in the description down below. Make sure you guys subscribe. Great value over here. And we're gonna pick his brain today, just discussing about the Yu-Gi-Oh meta, and different just market reactions to certain cards and things of that nature. So you definitely want to tune in. And yeah, welcome in, man. Thanks for hopping on the channel. And yeah, let's hear it, man. Yeah, how's it going?
Great. Honored to be here. Thank you for reaching out. It was a pleasure meeting you in Pittsburgh very briefly, and I'm looking forward to this. It's been on the books for a little bit, so it's gonna be fun.
For sure. Let's have some fun. And again, yeah, I met Aaron just very briefly in Pittsburgh right at the end of the event. I'm like, man, let's have you on the channel, man. I love collabing with everyone, especially channels that collab with others. It's not about the view count, the sub counts. It's all about just spreading the word out there. There's so many great content creators out there, so many great people. And yeah, that's my goal, always to collab. So I appreciate you hopping in here. And yeah, we're going to definitely have some fun. So before we get to your card of the day, which is right here, guys, and just letting you know beforehand is K917 Izuna. He'll very briefly be providing his fundamental reasons why it may be a good time, to consider. Of course, not official financial advice, but picking up this card, I just want to ask you, where does the love for Yu-Gi-Oh come from? Maybe your brief experience, how you got into the game, why you love it so much, why you compete at events and things of that nature. So yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, so I started playing in, like, I'd say like 8 or 9 years old. Like, my neighbors got into it, and it was just always like what we were able to do with each other. And
okay.
Ironically, my parents weren't a big fan of the game. Like, growing up, it was whatever, just not something they were a fan of. So it was kind of like, yeah, so it's something that I like kind of did on the side because they weren't super fond of it. So eventually I got older and I became an adult, and also they got older and were just like, yep, like you can do what you want. And
right.
I don't know, I got into it in high school with another good friend of mine, and I've just been playing ever since. Like, I started playing locally, played Black Wings like everyone else, Six Samurais, like all the OG decks.
Interesting.
And then I met just like some fantastic humans, and it's kind of just like run its course from there. Like, I've started traveling to events with them, and then I branched out. I met other fantastic humans and great duelists, and the entire time it's been like I enjoy competing and want to perform well, but at the root of it all, it's just like the friends I made throughout it. So it's like nice that we have something that we can share with each other the entire time, and obviously like the love of the game will like wane and wax over the course of time. Like, it's not always gonna be perfect, but like the experience that it has brought me over my lifetime is invaluable, and I can't be more appreciative.
Wow, man. Yeah, definitely great insight, man. I love asking this question to everyone that I bring on the channel. And look, we just got an amazing response. It's not just about the grind, competing. Yeah, that's a big factor. Chasing the trophy per se, competing, having that level of expectation personally of performing well and going to events in that nature, but also just friends. A lot of people love casual, maybe love friends. That's what Yu-Gi-Oh does. It brings us all together. And like you said, amazing human beings inside this community. Of course, we're biased, but that's great perspective that you offered. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And that's awesome, man. And then another lead up question before we talk about Izuna is just how does it feel collabing, with bigger content creators? Again, I consider myself still a smaller channel, but with me or Triff or bringing on pro players onto your channel, how does it feel just interacting with that level of of people inside the Yugiverse, like I like to call it? Any experiences that you can share with the masses here today?
Yeah, I think I'm just extremely blessed. Like, a lot of these people that I have on my channel are just my friends, and I kind of just started doing the YouTube thing over the summer, just like as a passion project, effectively. Like, you'll see like Cormac and Aditi and all these guys. Like, these are just like my friends, and I'm very blessed that they're also just very good at the game and like kind of experts. I think the Shane Tay interview that you were highlighting towards the bottom left, like that one is my favorite product I've worked on. I was able to get in touch with him through Aditya, actually, who was at Worlds this year with him.
Wow.
And he was super eloquent, just like very open to like everything that we discussed. Like, that's, I think, my favorite video I've worked on in terms of like everyone else. I think I had some kind of knowledge beforehand. Like, I knew Logan through friends. Rahan is a good friend of mine. Giancarlo, like I've known for years, but Shane like was the first person that like I got put in contact with, and we just like a really fun conversation. Like it's, I think, again, my favorite video I've done.
Wow, yeah, great insight, man. Guys, you need to subscribe right now. You definitely need to go check out these interviews because they're amazing in the sense of being able to interview these top Yu-Gi-Oh competitors, just amazing people in the Yu-Gi-Oh space, you know, anywhere from Triv to Jesse, you know, to Shane right here. You mentioned Giancarlo, you know, he's Dominican, so I'm Dominican too. And, you know, we talked a bunch, you know, at events, and I plan on having him on the channel very, very soon. Hopefully, you know, next week or the week before, I'm sorry, after that, because this is my guy, man. We come from the DR and I love that he lives there, you know, so yeah, I'm gonna pick his brain. And yeah, like he's such an amazing, you know, competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player. Getting, you know, top tier results, and I always link up with him at events, so I can't wait to have him on. When I saw him on here, I'm like, yo, that's fire. They're, you know, linked up and working together per se. He's an amazing person and I can't wait. But yeah, guys, as you guys can see, just a lot of value to offer here on the channel. Make sure you guys subscribe. Link in the description down below. Make sure you don't miss out. So with that said, Aaron, you know, you discussed, you're like, hey, you know, K917 Izuna is a card that you're recommending for people to at the very least have on their radar, you know, to be considering. Because right now, me too, I feel like people forgot about this card. When it first came out, it was very meta relevant, you know, price wise. The ultras were 40s, 50s maintaining, then went down to 33, stayed there for a while. Now it's getting destroyed. We're gonna get into the ultra in a bit. Even the Starlight Rare Max Rarity, I mean, at one point you can see here chart wise it came out in the triple digis, and now it's like 50 bucks, man, barely holding on to that $50 mark for the Starlight. So I mean, going to the CR very quickly, we can see that it's crashed down to 33s. So these for $100 you can get a playset right now, which big picture shouldn't be all that bad considering that the card was, you know, 60 bucks. So this one has done a bit of a better, you know, value wise, is done a better job holding on to value. So 100 for the CRs there. And then the ultras here, they're 13. So right now they're at all-time lows, trying to approach maybe even the single digi range here in price, over 100 listings. You do have actual walls of China here at 13, so you know it's impressive in the sense it was recently 20s, then 15s, now 13s. Volume has been picking up because people are realizing just how cheap the card is. They're coming in, they're sniping it up. So you know, these people that are coming in at these prices, why do you believe it's a great time to be picking up this card now that Mitsu Yumi was dominating? Then we went to Pittsburgh and, you know, branded Draco Tail took over. So what's your expectation? We're going to talk more about Pittsburgh in just a moment, but overall about this card and why people should be considering to pick it up right now.
Yeah, so if you remember when this card first came out, it was like Justice Hunter's meta, it was a little bit of Mitsurugi and a little bit of Malice, and this card performed fantastically in that format. And the real critique of it was that the Yumi deck was like, oh, it's not great into Yumi, so like it's not good against it. But now a majority of Yumi variants are Mitsurugi, so Izuna is now live competitively in effectively every relevant matchup. So you just are gonna have the ability for it to be live. You can turn it into a rank 5. Obviously, if you can commit a lot of extra deck slots to it, you can play cards like Nash Knight. But you also can just play like a smaller package with cards like Typhon and Zeus, which I think most decks are playing if they're in their extra deck already. So just that versatility of the card I think is fantastic. It was a card that after performing well the week before Pittsburgh, it was like, this card has to be in my deck list. I don't care what deck I'm playing. Like, I think Izuna into Draco Tail is one of the more versatile options. Like, you can, like I said, with Typhon, you can go Zeus. You can make a rank 5 to like try and interact with their back row as well. So I think the card is positioned very well. It's priced, I think, a little low for how good it is. So ideally, like, this card sees some success in Bologna this next weekend and potentially rises in price.
Yeah, I mean, great insight. Love to pick your brain with regards to this. I think it's a great recommendation because I always talk about life cycles. When a card comes out, Juhu came out, people react to the now, oh, this format is doing this, but they forget that usually a card like this comes out and it's like a year out before, you know, it maybe like truly falls out of favor where like no one plays it and things of that nature. But like you said, and we're going to discuss in this market watch, you know, you've been playing the card and actually getting results with it, and other Yu-Gi-Oh players as well at the top tier competitive Yu-Gi-Oh event. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a great card. People forget about it. They're like, oh, I don't need it right now. Everything is branded Draco Tail. Yeah, but the meta is always shifting. The meta is always changing. It changes fast. You know, we're going to get Burst Protocol early next year, and then you never know, man. Right now, it might not be as good per se compared to the, you know, the branded Draco Tails and the Mitsu Yumis and things of that nature. But next year comes new core set, then it has a better matchup against the new decks or the new support and things of that nature. So I really do appreciate your recommendation here. And yeah, I mean, at these current prices, sure, could they go lower in price? Of course, this card could go down to 12s, 10s, maybe even 8, 9s. It could be, but big picture, at least if someone comes in now, they're not paying $100 for a playset. They're paying more towards 40, so they get that discount compared to past prices. So I really do think this is one to definitely consider picking up right now. And then transitioning into YCS Pittsburgh, obviously you were there. We just want to know your experience, if you played or not, you know, with your friends, you know, if you met someone there, you know, then the results wise, if you expected Branded Dracotail to take it all, or what are your expectations based on these results for the next YCS? So yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, so just a quick plug, like I did a lot of discussion on this on my most recent On the Bubble podcast, so if you want to hear my in-depth thoughts, like feel free to go there. This will be just kind of a brief overview. So yeah, I played with the event, I played Branded Dracotail. It actually had K9 Izuna in it because I was just so convinced on how strong the card was. Extra deck was a little tight, obviously, but I was committed to that card being in my deck list. I made day 2, I got the pack, I lost the first round of the day and was out of the tournament, so not my favorite experience, but you know, you can't control it all. Had a lot of fun at DTO, finally able to pull out a YCS win. Congratulations to him. Very good friend, very proud of him and his accomplishments. Yeah, otherwise it was just a good event. I had my roommate actually, he drove up there to the event, and a couple of local guys are traveling more, so it's really nice to be able to experience those events with some other guys who, like, they're in the Genesys, so now I have a different perspective of being able to watch them and follow along that side of the market, so that's nice to see.
Love it.
Otherwise, yeah, it was just like another solid event. I really liked the city of Pittsburgh. It was really fun. The weather was pretty good, all things considered, and the walk around downtown was one of my more enjoyable ones. Like that, I think Indianapolis are my top 2 that I've enjoyed in terms of traveling.
Yeah, I mean, great insight, not just playing, but the traveling aspect as well. So that's awesome to hear, you know, traveling with more local guys, things of that nature. And yeah, Pittsburgh was, you know, it was great. The food was great. In Indy, I also went to that. So, you know, the food was great in Indy as well. So yeah, it's always fun to travel, you know, for Yu-Gi-Oh! And things that we love. And yeah, that's nice that you were playing, you know, Branded Dracotail with the K9 package in there. And, you know, day 2, I mean, a lot of people, that's, again, you're a competitive player. You've done well at regionals and, you know, even at Nats. We're going to check out the deck profiles in a bit, but you know, a lot of people at the bare minimum, they want to feel like they're gonna day 2, you know, they want to get to that second day competing, get their pack, feel like, okay, at the very least I got something out of the event. So sure, you know, we all want to win when we play or compete at anything, but at the very least day 2, that's a pretty good performance, you know, in my book, in that sense of things. So yeah, great recap with regards to the event. Like you mentioned, you know, the champ, you know, your friend right there, you had him on the channel, so that's great, you know, winning it all out of, you know, almost 2,000 competitors right there. So very impressive event, you know. And just briefly before we actually transition into Genesys, now that you mentioned it, what do you think about Malice? You know, Malice actually top 16 here, you know, was a deck that I was there on the floor. A lot of people were talking about it, you know, at the regional level. It was actually coming back. Some people are choosing not to play Lancias anymore, and they're taking advantage of that. So what do you think about Malice moving forward in this current format as we head, you know, towards the end of the year, and then eventually until Burst Protocol is a deck that most people forgot about? I'm tired of Malice, this and that and the third, but actually coming in here, obviously not winning the event, but out of the top 32, actually being represented here with 4 top 32 players. So what do you think about the deck right now?
Yeah, so again, like on the bubble, we've kind of actually like tracked all of this over the course of time. This was a deck that we kind of called out after Anaheim, where this was pre-emergency ban list, and we're like, okay, what deck beats Duel, Lockbird, and Dimensional Barrier? And Malice is kind of like the good point out to that, because Mitsuyomi was at the time like the deck that we kind of perceived as like the driving force. So Malice, it has like that ability to again not lose to like those hand traps. It has really strong combinations into chummies, so you can just make like kind of a Cryptor and just kind of half-ward consistently. And then you get to play very good cards like Dominus Impulse, which is just probably the best hand trap right now outside of like Fua and Shifter. Which again, gets to play Shifter, you get to play like Retaliating Sea and Dimensional Fissure. So you get to have all those strong tech cards against the deck that we perceive to be the best deck. So I think it's positioned rather well, but I think it does have the consistency issues now that there's only 1 Dormouse and only 2 White Rabbits. So I think that's why you see it do good, but it's not able to complete it. Like the gentleman who made top 16, he was 9-0 after day 1. But I think maybe you just had some unlucky variants, maybe a mistake here and there, like it's hard to say exactly, but when you go 9-0 and aren't able to pull it out against like those top tier players, I'm not sure if it was anything that was in his control or not, but either way, like that can just happen sometimes. Is maybe it's the guys he played day 2 at Lancia on their side deck, and that's why he underperformed. Like it's really hard to
Right, to measure those
specifically
things.
at what it was, but the deck has a lot of strong qualities, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be really difficult to win an event. Like, even at full power all of last year, it didn't ever win a YCS, right?
That's a
like,
great point.
It won some nationals, it made the finals consistently, but it's really difficult to pull it out in terms of like how many rounds, and especially when it's prepared, which it is a little bit more now than it has been in the past.
Yeah. I mean, great insight again. I mean, just a great take. Yeah, I mean, at the regional level, which is a lower tier, obviously, is doing better than, people would expect. So I always like just briefly discussing decks like these that, people forgot about, they didn't think about, and that, is still performing, obviously, like you mentioned, not taking it all or winning the entire event per se, but definitely interesting to see decks like these pop up and come back into the meta fray. And then we do have the Genesys Invitational here in Pittsburgh as well. You did mention to some of your, local buddies per se, they traveled and they get to experience the other side in the sense of something, still competitive, but a bit more casual in the sense, obviously toned down due to the points and things of that nature. So yeah, I mean, here we see that Onomat actually won the event, and it's a deck that has been performing throughout, since Genesys release. And then you have Draco Tail, Punk, Archmage, Radiance, Vanquish Soul, and Punk and Radiant again. So I mean, for me personally, I haven't gotten to play Genesys yet, but I just love the diversity. I love that, there's so many different decks that top. There's so many different decks that perform well. Yeah, I mean, it's not like a best deck where like, okay, Onomat won, but there was like 4 or 5 or 6 Onomats out of top 16. No, it's like he was the lone one. He won. Sure, the deck performance was consistent, but you have more variety in that sense of things. So yeah, I just wanted your thought process on the whole format, like Genesys format coming out, the points, the changes, maybe your buddies and their experiences. Just let's hear your thoughts when it comes to the Genesys Invitationals and things of that nature.
Yeah, so initially I was a little critical of it, but I think they've shown that they are very on top of it in terms of like the point adjustments, and they're like very aware and interactive with the community, like the blog posts they've been writing about it. So I think they've definitely heeded some of my concerns that I had about it. I'm not sure that like if you're an Edison person or like a GOAT person, this is really what you're looking for.
Right.
But if you're someone who still enjoys playing like Yu-Gi-Oh! At like a more like maybe like local level, regional level, like this may be something that you enjoy and are able to experience and have fun with. I think the big thing that this provides for hopefully longevity of the game, as we get into like the discussion on the market, is like we need the sets as of late have not performed as well as we would hope. Like when you're under retail within a week of release or even on the day of release, sometimes on TCG Player, that's a really big concern for the longevity of like, why should a store host this game's product if it's not going to make any money? So I don't want it to turn into Pokemon where everyone's scalping immediately, but like $37, which is half of MSRP, is unacceptable for a game that we want to perform well over the long term.
I agree.
This hopefully fixes some of the issues. Like Radiant Typhoon was an archetype that is competitively not viable right now, and this is now a deck that was 25% of the top cut. The Punk cards, which we saw in release, were like, okay, these cards are solid, and they've seen some success in Master Duel, but like as of right now in TCG, they haven't had that experience. So I like that this format gives that an option. Hopefully, like once the YCS comes out, the prices will go up a little bit more. Obviously, it's a little bit condensed in terms of who's able to play this. Like if you're interested in current and Genesys, the Genesys is kind of capped in terms of how many people it can facilitate. But if you can get more locals, like maybe if they start running Genesys regionals, we'll see if that ends up becoming a bigger part of the community. Because right now, I think it has a good groundwork, but we'll see if they're able to keep it up and push it forward.
Yeah. I mean, wow, great insight. I mean, it's a lot to cover in the sense that, yes, brand new. People didn't expect it. It just took over. A lot of people didn't know what to expect. They were like, wow, what's this? How does it work? And then you mentioned a great point that, if someone's traveling to a YCS, sure, out of the group, you were competitive, but then maybe there's 2 to 3 people that are more like Genesys in that sense. So yeah, I mean, pro players are not really based on, just what I've heard and things of that nature, like really honing in on Genesys or nothing like that. They still prefer, the YCS is the modern advanced format per se, but I really like this. It's a balance, in a way, kind of trying between like the past and the present, but obviously more present because it's using more modern decks per se. So it's nice to offer that where like, I might want to compete but not go through the grind of 2 days of 9 rounds each or however many rounds you end up playing. So I like it. I like that the fact that it exists. I like the diversity. I like that something different. So I'm a person that I'm big on options. Honestly, I think they should have kept like Time Wizard as well. If I'm a boomer and I want to play Edison or Go, that's my problem. If I want to play Genesys, that's my problem. problem as well, or modern, or all three, or just two. Like I'm a big, you know, options person, in the sense like just let me play whatever I want, but it is what it is for now. You know, Genesys, obviously they're pushing in, and like you said, pricing should definitely be a factor to consider in the future when it comes to bringing more of the masses to participate, and see if that trickles down into the regional and the local level as well. So great feedback here on Genesys format. Really do appreciate that. And you know, you did touch base. Obviously, we have Duma Dimensions at $37-38. We have Duelist Advanced. I didn't even know until I looked it up now. $25 boxes. Of course, that's just a one of you. Still 6 here at 27. There's been boxing selling at $20. Yo, I'm sorry, I'm just reacting like just $20 core sets. Like, what's going on, bro? That's like mind-boggling. So I mean, of course, from the outside looking in, someone's like, "Oh, hey, $20 box, finally budget." But you know, like you said, in the back scenes, you know, in the back rooms per se for these stores and things of that nature, that is just horrible. Same as Alliance Insight here, you know, like $28 boxes here, 30s, and you know, they kind of been pushing a tad bit up from the lows, ironically, in the 20s, but it's still overall like these were 70s, 80s, not that long ago, like last year. Yeah, like Rage of the Abyss, Rhoda, Infinite, you know, where Engraver came out, and like all these core sets last year in 2024, they were still like booming, you know, the price was right. But now when you start seeing back to back, then it kind of can worry things in that sense of things. So great observation that you made, and hopefully, you know, things start turning around with Burst Protocol. So we'll definitely make sure we look into that. Then E-ban list. Again, we had an E-ban list, and to me, I don't know like the technical date or year, but I think it'd been like multiple years since we had like what felt like an emergency ban list to address certain things so soon right after they already had a ban list. Obviously, they missed those things. They had to come back and address those. So just overall, in the thought process of the e-ban list, the communication that Konami's trying to have with the community as of late, with Genesys via the points, but also via our current ban list for advanced format. Did you like it? Was there any changes you think they should have done but they didn't, or that they did but they shouldn't? Just your overall thought process on the latest and greatest e-ban list that occurred not too long ago.
Yeah, I think it was a fantastic decision. Like we saw, I think it was like a span of 4 YCSs. And it doesn't look like we're going to get the ban list timeline that's the same as Genesys, where it's like monthly and they're very communicative. We still have to go through Japan and their headquarters for everything. But very fortunately for us, they were like advocating for us and like, hey, like this is something that needs to change in the immediate. And every card they hit, I think, was good. You could argue that they should have hit more. Like the water barrier, like leaving like 1 or 2 of the barrier statues up when they hit 4 of them, like I think it's like an unnecessary oversight. Like you already knew what some of the potential replacements were, and you just like left them available. Right. Like you hit Fossil Planet, but you leave water barrier statue up. So I think I'm not gonna complain about what they did do. But like as someone who like wants to always like see things become better, like that is something that I think was like I think a very fixable or like easy fix to make. If you want to talk about like additional cards that could have been hit, I don't know if it would be considered like emergency worthy. Right. But like a Spell Cancer is one that I think kind of a reasonable card to be like, okay, how are these decks going to continue looking down? So Spell Cancer I think is one card that is only ever used for evil. That's kind of the way that you describe it to people. It's not a card that is conducive to good gameplay.
Interesting.
And then if you are looking at like maybe like more meta relevant stuff, like I think Mitsurugi, like in some capacity, maybe like Prayers or Habakiri, just reducing the splashability of it. I'm also a pretty big anti-Herald of the Arclight. I think that card is very, very strong, very accessible in the Yummy engine, and overall, it's just like, I think it's run its course. Like there's been plenty of cards that I think are worth a hit, and this is probably one of them. I understand that, like, if this card wasn't summonable, I think it's okay, but like the additional floodgate effect of it on the field, on top of how generic it is, and making Mitsurugi just like as strong as it is. The last card I'll call it is Zombie Vampire. I think that card's not like an immediate need for a hit, but if you're critiquing bridges and you look at Herald of the Arclight as a card that you're like, oh, this is something that needs to get hit, I think Zombie Vampire, it kind of facilitates something similar. It's very accessible between Mitsurugi, you've got the Horus engine, you've got Millennium. There's so many different ways to access this card. You get deck knowledge of your opponent, which I don't think is as big as everyone thinks it is. But like it makes your deck very accessible off of the milling. Like if Chaotic Ruler is banned, or Loveblade Synchro, I think that's what it's called. This card I think accomplishes something very similar, also very accessible. And with the link mechanic, you're not actually losing too much in terms of like the monster value. So probably something that needs to get looked at moving forward. but in terms of like, I think I'm very critical of Konami when they do things that I wouldn't do or like would like to see improved upon.
Right.
But this is something that they did. It was 100% good on them. Like, thank you so much. Like, props.
Right. The fact that they actually went through and did something, you know, instead of just letting the format pan out for 3 or 4 months, having all these floodgate-like anti-summoning, you know, floodgates, things of that nature. And yes, it's weird how they choose some barrier statues, but not some others. But, you know, it is what it is. And yeah, great cause with those. I mean, yeah, these cards are broken. You know, they're very, very good. They cycle into the meta. People didn't care about them. They didn't use them. And all of a sudden, you know, they make current decks even better. So definitely great picks and great takes with regards to some of those considerations. And just your overall feedback with regards to the e-ban list, I think, you know, that was great. And then pricing, you did mention you did make day 2, and we're going to discuss a couple other, you know, tops, and, you know, you've been having essentially access to some of these prices as well. So just want your thought process with regards to the pricing overhaul. If you like it, if there's any way they, you know, it could be better. You know, me personally, you know, I don't compete. I'm more about the markets and trading and things of that nature. But when I do see people come up to me, hey, I have this rare charge, I'm like, sure, you know, good for you. It's like, why would I, let me get the quarter century at $5, but obviously I understand the stamp and what it took, you know, to get that particular version. But, you know, rare prize cards, I'm like, man, that's, yeah, you know, but I just want to hear your thought process overall on these packs. How does it feel to receive it? Do you crack them open? Do you leave them sealed? Are you saving these, or do you care about these much? Do you move them on the spot? Just overall, what's your thought process with regards to this pricing?
Yeah, so funnily enough, there's one on my dresser behind me. I just didn't get the chance to do anything with it.
Okay.
So this is again something that is moving in the right direction. Like, for years they've had no adjustments at all. It's been really negative. Top 32 is a mat, and now 256 now get this, and then there's obviously the prize card edition. This will get into a bigger conversation that I assume we're gonna go over a bit later when it comes to like rarities.
Yeah.
But like cards being so accessible in terms of like every different rarity, I think is a negative. Because like you said, you're like, I can get this QCR charge of the Light Brigade for $5. Like, why am I going to spend money on this YCS specific card? So I think we can get into that a little bit later. I think, again, moving in the right direction. I think missed the mark a little bit based off of how they've currently been handling things with like the rarity collection, which again, we can talk about more. The card selection, I think, not my favorite. Like cards like Gagaga Magician, the Adamus for Link Monster.
Oh man.
So yeah, like I think a couple misses, but again, like at the end of the day, like they're doing things and they're moving in the right direction, which is something that they haven't done at all for the past, like, we'll say decade. Like they've made very few changes in terms of pricing structure.
Yes.
They've like updated whatever, like the Switch for a Steam Deck, which sure, thank you, but like we want to make the game more accessible to like the 256, not just the top 32. So it's definitely a positive in that regard. So
yes.
I think again, moving in the right direction, still work to be done, but you can't complain about some forward progress, which hasn't been there previously.
Yeah, I mean, great insight when it comes to pricing, you know, someone that actually has earned these and just the thought process. I agree for the most part, you know, moving, if we can get at least the moving in the right direction part, that's obviously the beginning of things, a good start per se. Yeah, I mean, card selection, of course, there's even fillers in these packs, you know, I think there could be way better selections, obviously, but at least there's something. So we'll take it with a grain of salt, you know, we'll take it for what it is for now. And hopefully, yeah, I mean, the last point about this is the regional pricing, you know, just the same way as, you know, we have YCS pricing. I've been a proponent for months now that people, you know, should have a regional stamp right here, you know, as well. Not this specific card necessarily. If they want to do that one, then that's fine, but maybe different cards or these same cards, but at the regional level. So I think they could play around, because I see a lot of people competing at the regionals. Yes, they compete for their invites. We understand that's the chase of a regional. But again, for the top cut, there's 2, 3, sometimes 400, 500 regional players, mini YCS type like events, and then all you get maybe is the deck box, a mat, and call it a day. Like I believe they can also provide like regional packs instead of just YCS packs. I think it should trickle down to the regional level. So what's your thought process with regards to that idea?
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I will say, so regional attendance overall has kind of deteriorated. Like in Texas, we get, I think, 4 regionals per quarter.
Yeah.
So that is not bad. Obviously, I'm in Austin, Texas, which is the most central part. The distances for me are like 1, 3, 3, and then 6.5 hours. Okay. So those are the only regionals that I have access to if I don't want to drive 6+ hours away.
Interesting.
But like the distance, or not the distance, sorry, the the attendance has been substantially lower. Like San Antonio it used to cap out at I think 260, 280, something around there. And this past one, it was like 140 maybe. It was only 16 invites if I remember correctly.
Yikes.
So yeah, like and then the Houston regional, which we didn't have during COVID. We got it back a little bit after. The first 3 or 4 capped at like 500 or 600. Entire room was full. And the past few have been, I haven't been to the past couple, but I think like in the 260 to 300 range.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So that's a big drop off.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of arguments as to why that is, but I think we'll say like economy, like people aren't doing as well financially to be able to afford cards.
Right.
So there's obviously plenty of reasons as to why it could be.
Right.
But that is such a big drop off that I'm not sure if that's the only reason, and maybe like something like this could help that and make people want to come back more.
Yes, great insight. Again, I mean, you have to give people a reason to travel the 2 to 3 hours to grind for 8, 9 rounds, however many rounds it is, depending on, player count. And here in Orlando, I live in Orlando, Florida, and regionals used to always be 300-400, and now if we get like 250, it's like, oh, okay, which compared maybe to other regionals is still good per se, but the standard has lowered across the board. If in Texas it was X amount, now it's less. If in Orlando it was this, now it's less. Philly, I always go to the Philly regional because I have family out there. Is one of the better regionals in the country, and they still get good turnout, but for their own numbers, it used to be 500, 600, 650s. Now maybe is 400 players. So you start to see not every instance is 50%, but 40%, 30% decrease in people actually going to these regionals. So I think pricing, it's just an incentive. Like just have a regional pack. A couple of these cards, maybe change the cards up. Hey, if it's fillers, we'll take them. At the very early beginning, but give us something. That if Aaron is going to a region, it's like, yeah, man. Let's try and get that pack. See if I can pull X, Y, and Z. So have a Dark Magician somewhere in here. Rare. Even we'll take it. Just put the regional stamp. So I think that should be because you made an amazing point about the regional turnout. It's something that a lot of people are not talking about right now. And when you go to the regionals, you realize it. Sure, YCSs, we still get the 1500s, the 2000. So people don't realize it, but at the regional level, which honestly for more people is more accessible. Not everyone can take a flight or drive to a YCS, so it should be booming in a better manner, in my opinion. But great take when it comes to YCS pricing, and hopefully it trickles down to the regional level. So hopefully it's something that they can consider. So moving on to the legendary 5Ds decks, just a couple product releases here, just to your thought process from a competitive player. Just wanted to ask, this is coming out brand new. We're gonna have common, mode, charmy, staples, readily available cards for the masses. What's your thought process on a product like this? Competitively, of course, most competitive players already have the cards they need, but maybe for the masses, like you mentioned earlier, the financial part of things, maybe the economy is not doing so great, maybe that affects the regional turnout. So do reprints like these, does that help? Is this the solution? And just your thought process regarding that.
I mean, it's really hard to say that it hurts, right? We can look at the collector's market as something different. Like I said, I think we'll get into that a little bit more later, but I really whatever Fua and Perulia, they were like the driving forces of their sets, whatever, I think a little over a year ago. Bial's was, I think, maybe 8 or 9 months, and now we're at a point where these cards definitely deserve a reprint. Fua was obviously fortunate to get it in the rarity collection. This is what I think how product lifetime should look, where it comes out in the beginning, you have like the singular rarity, it could be secret, ultra, however you want to put it out initially, and then like the super high rarity, and then at some reasonable point down the line, you expect a reprint, and then it does receive that reprint. And I'm a low rarity guy. I personally don't have a big desire for high rarity stuff.
Interesting.
I look at this stuff and I love it. I'm just like, cool.
Awesome.
If I feel like picking up the decks myself, I'm very blessed in that I have friends that have cards and are able to let me borrow stuff for events because they don't attend. So I have access to that a lot of the time. During Snake Eye format, I owned the entire Snake Eye deck at max, whatever, like $1,200. That's how much I spent on it.
Wow.
So a very big discrepancy in terms of like what the market looks like now compared to a year and a half ago. And I prefer this one for sure. But again, like the longevity of the game and the set prices, like there needs to be a middle ground of where it is now to where it was.
Right. Great insight. And the middle ground or balance is because, from one vantage point, which most people focus on, obviously we want the game to be accessible. So these commons are great. But then there's the other vantage point, like, hey, Jay, Aaron, I owned, the CR Perulia because CR is my favorite rarity and I paid $100 on them and now they're $50 type of thing. So, obviously the masses, more people are going to be more happy, most likely because it's readily available. But then the people that paid a premium, especially for the higher rarities, they're going to be stuck with cardboard that, maybe maybe they say they don't care about value, maybe they already have the rarity that they want, but mentally they also know their card is just down 50% value wise, and no one likes that. You know, some people say, oh, I don't care about value, I don't really pay attention to that, because they already paid the price, they already received the card, and they just want to own the card. We understand, but deep down as humans, no one wants to own something and have it go down 50%, you know. So I mean, is that fine balance, like Aaron, you know, claimed. Great take with regards to that. But yeah, I mean, you know, from the accessibility part of it, it's nice, you know, and the people that have the OGs, I mean, I guess they have the version they already want, and with time, you know, the higher rarities usually distance themselves from the lower rarity prices anyways, because they get harder to get again with time. So it is what it is. Probably some short-term pressure for the higher end, but definitely a nice product when it comes to the reprints here. So definitely a great insight. Then we have the structure deck. We have the branded structure deck here, just came out. You know, I've been talking a lot about this set market wise, obviously, with just great opportunities with Thrust, Super Polys, you know, even Lubellion, and the Fallen and the Virtuous, which you can, you know, provide some insight competitively, obviously, with branded Draco Tail and how the card impacts not just that deck, but, you know, the meta against it, you know. So I think it's a great structured deck reprint product, and I'm just trying to tell people that they're just focusing on the now. Okay, branded Draco Tail won the event, it was the most represented at YCS Pittsburgh, but I'm telling people to not forget about Burst Protocol, because they're getting, you know, branded is getting the new Synchro and the new other monster, and again, these cards, people are like, oh, okay, I don't like branded, I don't care, they're here, whatever. But then when Burst Protocol comes out, I think there's going to be a rush of people coming back. Maybe they forgot about this, or they're just playing a different deck now. But when branded becomes maybe tier 1 or just gets better, then they might rush back to pick these up. So overall, what do you think about the Fallen and the Virtuous and the impact in the current meta? And then second of all, just the structured deck overall. You know, did you like it? Does it have potential? And just the cards in here and your thought process.
I mean, it's this fantastic product, I think. Again, like, this is about the timeline where a lot of these cards need reprints. Like, the Bestials have been around for a while. I think Lubellion has been out for a very long time and needed another reprint, so it's good to see that. Magnemite and Druid Swarmer cards that were like $20 to $25 supers, which in the beginning life cycle of that their release is acceptable. But now we're at a point where that is no longer the case. We look at cards like Thrust, like, we're at a point where we can reprint it kind of at will. I think the product is solid. Fallen and Virtuous, like, it got points in Genesys immediately. Like, that is a card that could have, like, shaped that entire format. So this part, I think, was solid across the board, and all the foiling is nice. Like, I think the cards look pretty strong. The alt arts is nice. It's a new addition to the game, which I think is something they've been doing over the past couple of years. So you can add some variety to it. And then I like the structure that they've done with this and the Blue Eyes, where they have, like, the additional, like, foil card that you get, which can be some added value as to justify your investment if you want to, like, try and open multiple. You can, okay, if I get this Starlight Rare, or what is it?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It is. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, Starlight Fallen Virtuous. Like, okay, now I paid for my case of this set or whatever. Like,
man.
So like, it has competitive value. Like, this, if you have 3 of these structure decks, you can win locals very comfortably. And if you're a collector, like, it has the top end. Like, this is, I think, what set should look like, is where you get your value from like just opening the $20 and, like, okay, now I'm competitive at locals. Or if you want to invest into it, now you can, like, have that chase card and, like, that top end. Perfect insight when it comes to the market angle, and just the approach and the perspective with many great cards, like you mentioned, the reprints. Just great to see, you know, even cards as Nibs, even the Black Gold Laughs, you know, cards that, yeah, this one had the 10 reprint, the Black Gold Laughs, but now is readily available, and I think it's a great penny stock long term for us market watchers here. But yeah, how about competitively speaking, you know, the Fallen and the Virtuous, how it's impacted not just the deck that you played, you know, branded Draco Tail, but, you know, maybe how do you face against this card, how to consider it. You know, it's brand new, it's good, it feels more generic than people give it credit for, and especially heading into Burst Protocol, I think this is a great card to be considering getting access to. So just overall, specifically the structured deck, competitively speaking, and or the Fallen and the Virtues, just a thought process on that. Yeah, I mean, the card's very good. Like I said, very splashable. And yeah, like, I haven't looked too much into the, like, I'm not someone who looks, like, super far advanced. Like, I know Burst Protocol, like, what the outline of it is. But like you said, the card's very splashable. It gets a lot of value, and it also can cycle itself off of Albion. So even if you only have 1 or 2 extra deck slots, you can literally just play Fallen and Virtuous as, like, a spot removal card. So the card's very good. So very viable for that purpose, and I think that's why it received points in Genesys. Like, I think the card is very versatile, very strong. And, like, it has the second effect, which Ecclesia Monster and Field of Grave, so, like, it could be the source support. Like, the Albaz and Despia lore is still going strong and has a lot of utility into it. So I'm curious to see what other effects that it ends up popping up with and what lists it seems in over time.
Great points, great points. And that's why I'm talking about this card now, because people just focus on the now. They're like, oh, it does this, it's generic, it's great, I don't need it, I'm playing Mitsuyomi, or I'm playing X, Y, and Z, I don't need. But then in the future, the meta shifts, new product, you know, Burst Protocol comes out, branded is all over the place, and then all of a sudden everyone's rushing in to pick these up. So as these retrace back down to the main, be it the secret or the ultras or any copy, I think it's a great time to consider getting exposure. You know, as interest wanes, people that really want it have it, you know, the supply keeps coming in, you know, goes down to the averages, and then I think it's a great pickup. So I loved your fundamental reason. Technically, I'd wait a bit more, maybe. Yeah, like single digis I think is great, because I think this card can age very, very well once that branded rush or hype comes in, once Burst Protocol comes out. So great insight with regards to the structured deck. Then we have the tins. You mentioned that right now one of the best hand traps in the game is Dominus Impulse. You know, we obviously have Purge here falling out of favor a bit, you know, as people switch over to branded Draco Tail. So again, and yeah, obviously we have staples here in the tins. We have some boomer cards. I'm more of a boomer. I love Edison, I love Goat, you know, so I always love reprints like these. And then, you know, you obviously have a lot of, you know, cards that used to be competitive, now they're not. You have cards like Nightmare Apprentice. I'm always telling people, you know, pick these up, heck of hands. It doesn't matter if it's going to be meta or not, just the, you know, the hype could cause this card to go up. Then we have Gamma Seal played in Genesys format as well. So just so many great and diverse reprint, even some Bystial max rarity cards here, alternate art reprints. I believe this year's tins is very complete, is diverse. You know, it appeases us boomers with Pot of Greed, for example, but then you have staples being reprinted at higher rarity, cheap higher rarity, which is my personal favorite. So what is your thought process with a reprint set like the tins? What did you like? You know, did they miss anything, or it's perfect? I honestly think, you know, obviously, you know, if we can be, you know, technical here, oh, they're missing that 1X card or that card, you know, like Fenrir, for example, I think should have been here as a Starlight. Imseti as well, maybe Chaos Angel, maybe another reprint. But overall, what is the gist of the tins, you know, with these high-end hand traps, the boomer side of things, the Genesys impact, and do you think it ages well into 2026?
So this is probably the aspect of product that I'm the least familiar with, but we can get into this and like the rarity discussion at the same time.
Yeah, sure,
I think
sure.
These kind of like they kind of bounce off one and off. Like, what does one provide and not the other? I think the include like what the cards that were included in the tins. A lot of these were needed. Like the Fiendsmith cards, you needed the reprints. The Primate Lord Load needed its reprint. That card was like I think $30 or $40 at one point prior to it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, Olcanix was a card that was also very expensive prior. So a lot of cards that were put into this set were needed. But this was also around the time when I think they did 4 rarity collections in a little over a year. And as you like, I think the first and the second one, like I specifically remember when they reprinted Starlight Appaloosa. That was when like the collector market like really like took a big hit. And at that point, like they were just like, okay, like what is my safety net anymore? Like when they're just gonna reprint cards in QCR and Starlight and Secret, and like now some of them are going to be YCS prize cards as well. Like what is the highest rarity of a card? Like it's really hard to define that now, and I think that's like yeah, like this card was 1.5k at one point, if not even more, if I remember correctly. Like this card was insane, and maybe that like I think you should have those cards that are worth that very high price point. Like you don't need a Starlight Appaloosa, and it was whatever one in X amount of cases, 16, 32 cases. So like that level of rarity is good, and if you want to strive for that as part of your collection as like a grail, then sure, like that should be available to you. But there should be levels to it. Like you should have, like we'll say like that very high Starlight rarity, or QCR if you want to put it like when they were first released in main sets. They should be very difficult to attain, and like they should have that high price point. And then you can have like that normal release, like we saw like when Fua was like a secret and a QCR. The QCRs were whatever, like I think 250, 300, and the secrets were 100. And obviously it was release weekend of the WCQ, so like very high price point, or Pearl M Spray, this was that's that. But same thing, where like those release weekend, it's fine. Over the course of time, it trickles down, and then eventually we get a reprint. But I think once rarity collection gets involved, this is something initially I was a big fan of, and like over the course of time, I've kind of understood how detrimental it is, where it just really negatively impacts the market, and we see just like core sets not doing too well. There's a couple different reasons for that. One is just availability of product. And just like what is included, like when Justice Hunters is such a good product, and then like the next core set isn't as good of a product, like that, we need that disparity to be a little bit lower across the board. So we need products that are better, like the average quality of them is higher, and then we need these rarities to actually mean something. Like when QCRs are $5 or Starlight Rares are $5, that feels like a mistake. Like that should be a premium high rarity card, and that just like doesn't fulfill that role. Like SP Starlight being $10 when the QCR on its release was in like the 250s, 300s.
Yeah,
like that just seems like an oversight in terms of the longevity.
Look at the disparity right here, high to low. We have I mean, that's obviously crashing down, but you have this one here, the quarter century secret rare. Right now is around 169s, but it's coming down from like 350s, and some cases it was like $400 or $500, and now you have like a $10 Starlight. So I mean, yeah, you made an amazing point that I'm gonna bounce off, in the sense that like for me personally, let's say I obviously, you know, like biased for myself in the sense like I love high cheap rarity, in a way I'm like, cool, I get to play a Starlight for $10, that's awesome. But yeah, value wise, I agree. I think there should be chase rarities, and that's the key. When you have a rarity that is the same, it's cheap and expensive in different products, it starts confusing the market. You know, people then, it's like, what is max rarity? You know, there's Starlights that are more expensive than quarter century secret rares, but then there's QCSRs that are more expensive than Starlight. So it starts blurring, you know, the rarity system. Like, what is truly valuable here? Sure, of course, scarcity is going to matter. You know, a product release, if it's in a core set or a reprint set, all of these things are going to be factors. But you know, I totally understand what you mean, where things get blurry, you know, and then people don't know what to choose, because, you know, really, are you going to pay 170s, you know, right now for one quarter century secret rare, or you're going to come in and get 17 Starlight Little Knights? You know what I mean? Like, I prefer 17 Little Knights because I still have a high rarity, and then I still have investments as well. But of course, people are going to consider the quarter century secret rare as the technical max rarity because it's more scarce, it came out first, things of that nature. But like you said, it can blur the perspective. So that's a great point with regards to the rarity collection. Then now it's like it feels like you don't know what's max rarity anymore, in the sense of before you knew Starlight was max rarity, it was scarce all across the board. For you to get your hands on any Starlight, you had to open however many cases. But now when you have them in the tins and you have them everywhere, it starts to, you know, to blur the sense of high rarity and max rarity. So I agree. I don't think there should be multiple max rarities in the sense. It should be something clear and defined. It's like X rarity is the best. Like, there's no question. If you want to pay a premium, you get the best. It's the hardest to get. It is what it is. And then you have alternative rarities that could look nice, but they're cheaper. You know, you have the middle ground and obviously the low rarity. So I agree with that take. You know, with you putting it that way, I think it would be excellent. And also just providing more value, you know, to those respective sets. It was like, okay, this chase rarity is hard to get, everyone wants it, it's the max rarity. Yo, I need to get a box to see if I can pull it. Now you don't feel that anymore. Yeah, there's a couple Starlights that are worth something in the core sets, but not to be like, you know what, let me just go and buy boxes. It's not really. Before, there were people, I remember there were people that would buy boxes, they don't even need much from the box. They're like, yo, Jay, I'm just trying to get the Starlight here, you feel me? So it has that chase feel to it that I feel that you make a great point. So yeah, excellent take with regards to the tins, with regards to the rarity system here, and just the rarity collection overall. So when it comes to your personal performance here, again, guys, you know, Aaron has been competing like he mentioned, and this is a pretty cool list that we can have here, where we can see his, you know, top performances here for the last couple of years. This is pretty neat and pretty nice. So again, winning actually a regional here, it was last year, about a year and some change ago. That is awesome with Fire King, you know, and again, getting top 4 at, you know, regionals, going to a YCS and getting a top 8, that's incredible. You know, so again, going to regionals, YCS is even there in London in 2023. So that's pretty cool, man, honestly. And recently getting a top 8, as you know, not too long ago this month, actually early this month. So that's pretty cool, and that's what I'm gonna hone in here for the rest of the market watch, because you know, some of these decks, yeah, they're still around, but they're not as relevant as back then when you actually won. And actually it was pretty cool to getting that top 64 though, in the NAWCQ. So we definitely just have to ask you, before getting into the latest you know, regional performance here, how was the process, you know, going to the NAWCQ and actually getting top 64? What was, you know, your actual place within that top, and what was your experience, you know, playing with this deck back then? Obviously Protos is here, your friend, but yeah, what's your thought process with Nats, the experience overall, and getting top 64, which is pretty impressive?
Yeah, so ironically, I was like on the verge of like taking a very long hiatus from Yu-Gi-Oh. I was like, I was just like trying to focus on life, and I'm, you know, approaching 30 years old. I wanted to start dating and, you know, build a family and get a career,
Right.
So all things that I think are important and valuable, and Yugioh was going to be on the back burner for a little bit, which is totally fine.
Yeah, yeah.
But I went to a bachelor party for a guy who met through Yugioh. His wedding's actually this weekend, and I was practicing the best man speech before we got hopped on this, so
that's awesome.
I was working on that.
Yeah.
And they were just like telling me about this Ornament Rigel deck, and I'm like, okay, like, sure. Like, I was still up to date with everything. I played on Dueling Book a little bit here and there, but I was like, so what is the point of this? And then eventually I kind of like hopped into the conversations because I'm not too much of a drinker, and I was like, all right, what was happening on? And they kind of just like sold me on it. I was like, okay, like this makes sense. Like you get to play Protoss. This card's like fixes a lot of the going second issues, and the Protoss was the primary selling point of this deck to me. Like I won't like, get it twisted.
Right.
Yeah, like so you just get to play that card. And the deck I think was relatively consistent. It had solid matchups across the board, and when you go first, you just get to like effectively FTK your opponent. So I was like the group of guys that I worked on this with was probably like I think the most fun I've had preparing for an event because I've had the luxury of like working with a lot of very good people like YCS winners and multi-time toppers, but like for this event I just like a lot of those guys that were at the bachelor party and just like a couple other friends from Europe, I was just like, yo, let's just like make a Discord of like whatever, like the 8 or 10 of us, and we all just like kind of like honed in on this and another deck, and it ended up working really well. Like I was the only one that was able to find success out of our group. It was like I think 3 or 4 of us took the deck, but someone who was like a group adjacent, Mario D'Amico, got 5th place, if I remember correctly, at the event, or 6th, something like that. So this deck was obviously, I think, positioned well as a very strong choice for the event. So yeah, like I had a lot of fun. I think the deck was positioned well. It was a lot of fun. I went X2 in Swiss, and then I lost to myself, unfortunately, in top 64. I like had the line. I had literally played it out in my head, and then like sequenced one thing incorrectly, and then it cost me the match. Like I couldn't recover from it. So really unfortunate to end in that way. As a competitive person, like I was effectively inconsolable for like an hour. I was just mad at myself and at life and whatever.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But like it was again, like I can't ask for more in terms of like the enjoyment I had in the process. Like the event was a lot of fun, and again, like even when like that type of shit happens, like it's really fun to just be able to, like at the end of the day, it's like I have my friends there to support me, and like the process of doing it all was why I really enjoy this game in the first place. Like if you want to become good at this game, as a lot of it is just investing time and reps and whatever, like looking over data if you want to get that deep into it, which is what I enjoy, so it's not a big deal for me. But if you're not enjoying that either by yourself or with the people you have around you, then it's going to be a long time. And for me, it just feels like time passes so quickly when I'm doing all this with my friends, and it's enjoyable.
Yeah, because it's enjoyable, and that's the key word out of all that experience. Really appreciate you share that, that insight of achieving. Because again, sure, maybe you lost to yourself, maybe you could have been top 32, maybe you could have won it all, but at the same time, even topping, at top 64 is definitely a very, very, very excellent achievement. To out of 2,000 plus players, I think it was, or was it 3? I even forgot, but it was a lot of players that went. Let me see, does it say here? I think it says almost 3,000 players. Man, and getting top 64, definitely a great achievement there. And it's good, you always have that following year as well, this upcoming year and the one after that. So yeah, you'll definitely do great. And I mean, it was a great deck, obviously, because you got the results, and it's definitely nice to hear your insights on that experience. And then towards the end, you did mention some advice, just to look at the data, to look at the your ratios, to play test against many different decks. So I would assume, is that the best quality or piece of advice that you would suggest for Yu-Gi-Oh players, in order to succeed and just get better at competitive Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah, like I said, it's primarily just like just enjoying the process. Like I said, like there's a lot of different ways to improve, but I think the one way that is applicable to all of them is just like investing time. You can speed up that time by paying for coaching. I coach on the side, just shameless plug. I think I do a very good job with what I work with, the students I work with. So yeah, whatever. Like you can do coaching, you can watch content, you can just play a lot of games like by yourself on Dueling Book. You can have a testing circle, but all of it, I think, at the end of the day, is just like efficiency in terms of how quickly you will get better. And you can't really avoid like the time investment. Like there are some things that you can only do by playing in person. Like there are people who have a lot of success on Dueling Book, but it takes them ounce of time to actually play in person and perform well under time constraints and pressure and in-person anxiety. So like you have to actually go to events, you have to put in the time, and you have to, again, if you're not enjoying it, then you're gonna burn out pretty quickly, which is what's happened to myself and plenty of my other friends over the years. That's why they don't play anymore. Is the love for the game wasn't worth the whatever reasons that they like, whatever they were giving up, or they just weren't having the fun of the process. So I think that is the most important thing, is if you can surround yourself with people that you just enjoy spending time with, then that makes everything else, I think, so much easier.
Perfect. Great advice. Great advice for the masses there. Hopefully you guys take advantage of that, because it's great to have the insight, again, of someone that actually has topped a major Yu-Gi-Oh event. And obviously, as we can see here, it's not just a one-time thing, but topping, you know, multiple Yu-Gi-Oh top tier events. And as we can see, you know, transitioning to your actual latest regional event right here, which was very recently, the first of this month in San Antonio, actually getting the top 8 there with K9 Crystron. So yeah, we just want your insight on that now regional experience, because sure, you went to Nats, that's the top tier, the best of the best, but even locally being able to attend a regional, maybe more people know you, maybe you know more people, maybe you're facing, you know, a friend on a certain round, or maybe just how different it is, regionals compared to YCSs compared to Nats. Maybe that's really the question. And then obviously transitioning into, you know, your picks, why you played the deck and how did it feel, and moving forward, you know, how the deck you believe can continue to compete or not.
Yeah, so in terms of tier events, like especially in Texas, I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh in Texas for about a decade at this point. So I'm very familiar with a lot of people, and now that I've started doing content, more people are familiar with me, which is a blessing. Like people are like, "Hey, I love the pod. Hey, I love your content." I'm like, "Hey, thank you." Like it makes a lot. Like I'm not the most motivated to do all of this at this point. Like I've got life going on, but it is really refreshing to just be like, I show up to an event that I was going to anyways, and someone went out of their way to be like, "Hey, I appreciate your content or your voice," and I'm like, "Thank you."
That's awesome.
It means a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, look, like I'm more likely to play like this last regional round 2. I played against a guy that I drove with, which was really inconvenient.
Oh man.
So like that's always something that can happen. But like, yeah, I played against whatever Cameron Neal like 3 or 4 times at a regional in the past 4 years. Like it's just kind of what happens whenever you're both at every tournament, and hopefully you're both doing well, and then eventually you're just gonna end up playing against your friends and good players. And I'm very lucky to play in Texas where I have that competition level around me. So yeah, YCS, that's where you get like, you're less likely to play against your friends, but you're more likely to play against people that are just substantially better, and it's kind of pick your poison. Would you rather play against someone you know or someone you don't know from the internet? Like it's not always a good thing. So yeah, I enjoy all of it. Like there were years when I kind of did the regional point grind. I was just outside of it twice, which is really unfortunate. But you know, like again, like, that was just back when I like just loved playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I had a bunch of time, so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna spend my time going to every regional and enjoying the process of traveling and playing Yu-Gi-Oh! So now I have a little bit less time. I go to less regionals, but I still go because I enjoy it. Like I'm not doing points grind. I have my invite for nationals already, but like I just want to go see my friends and have a good time, because I really enjoy the process of going to an event and playing and seeing my friends and doing all that, compared to like, you know, sitting at home playing Dueling Book. Like you can't really replicate the enjoyment of like going in and doing well and just having that success. So
for sure.
We hop into the San Antonio regional deck list. This is Crystron K9. This is not the deck I took to Pittsburgh real quick, or funnily enough, so I'll kind of explain why. Sure. I think the deck performed well, but I think it did kind of have some holes. Like when you look at the meta, there's Mitsurugi Yummy and there's Draco Tail, and I think this deck, when you built for one, you kind of struggled into the other. Obviously, you had that favor going first against both of the decks, but I think in general, like if you have a negative variance die roll day, like if you win 50% or even less than 50% of your die rolls, the deck can struggle going second, which I think was a problem. But the one thing I did take away from this deck list is Izuna, and I'm like, this card was the MVP of the day. I'm gonna make sure that I have it in my Pittsburgh list no matter what. So I looked at Vanquish Soul K9, and then I ended up back on Draco Tail K9 with the Izuna because of how strong the card is. The other thing that I took away from this is the K9 X-Force release, which is the quick play spell down at the bottom. When I was playing Vanquish Soul, like I been sent some lists like this card was in and out, but this card was like a real MVP for me. I won games that I should not have won going second because of this card. I think it was a very impactful going first interruption. Really loved how the card performed for me. So this was, I think, one of the other key standouts for me in the K9 package. So I think the K9 package has a lot of versatility to it, and this card is, I think, one of the primary contributors to that. So the deck is good, very good going first. I actually tried it without Spell Canceller, which I think is probably the exception. I just didn't have access to them at the time, so I don't always have the cards that I needed, unfortunately, but it was able to still perform well. Ironically, I got a comment on my most recent video, and they said that this deck list inspired one of them who ended up being top 32 with something very similar. Wow. So yeah, like, obviously the deck, even with, I think it was actually the only K9 list, or Crystron K9 deck that topped, and it didn't play Spell Cancer, which I think is kind of cool. Wow. It just kind of shows that you don't need, you see, like, that's why Spell Cancer, obviously, it doesn't need to get hit, but like, the gameplay it provides is not great. So I would still prefer to have that card out of the way. So yeah, I think the deck is very strong. It's probably like comfortably in like the tier 2, like 4th, 5th, 6th best deck range. But again, it's just a very strong deck. It has some problems that you can't really fix, like Wallace is good at times and whatever else. But I think the deck is very strong, and you know, it obviously was able to perform for me on the day.
Yeah, I mean, wow, great insight. And what I liked about it is that, you know, because the deck actually won Anaheim, wasn't it? I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so, you know, it's nice to see that the deck, obviously the pilot matters, you know, with the champ, and then you with this. So pilots obviously matter, but it's nice to see that a deck like this can continue to perform. And obviously, not just at the YCS level with the champ of Anaheim, but also here at the regional level, and most likely at locals as well. So yeah, great insight when it comes to, you know, this deck profile, the performance, and just the insight going to Pittsburgh, and things of that nature. So I'm gonna just take the opportunity to talk about these cards, because again, like you mentioned, a lot of these cards, yeah, I mean, not many people play like Crystron per se, but a lot of people like having access to the K9 package, not just with Crystron, but maybe there's other Vanquish Soul players out there, maybe just having access to the package to mix and match, maybe with a rogue deck, things of that nature, maybe a pure version as well. So again, Roy is a card that when it came out, let me just start with the Starlight. It was cheap. It was like $40, went up crazy to 150s, and now it says 136, but actually you're getting a couple sweet deals here at 110. So in person, if you can pick these cards up, anything under triple digits should age well. 20 listings here for the max rarity, just to inform the masses. And then you do have the ultra rares here. You know, they came out at 16s, went up to 26s, almost 30s. Now they're around, you know, the low 20s right here. So ideally you want to pick these up around $20 in person. 45 listings here. So volume has been dwindling, but again, you know, with the insight from Aaron, just knowing that the deck performs and the engine is great, and talking about Izuna, these are cards from Doom of Dimension, just came out, you know, not getting a reprint anytime soon. So if you want to get access, I think it's a great time to definitely get exposure. And then we have Lupus here. Obviously, Lupus is one that everyone forgot about, and I think it's an amazing time to pick up the max rarity Starlight, because it's around $10, man. Honestly, I mean, the card at one point was 20s and beyond. Now you see volume actually picking up, so people have been coming in. The largest volume candle in the last 90 days, so definitely people are picking this up the closer it gets to $10. So I think Aaron is onto something in the sense, not just with K9, Izuna, you know, 17 Izuna, but the whole package, you know, your Noroys, your Izunas, your Lupus, like just having access to the engine in itself. And we do see here that the CR is like $4, $4 or $5 is not bad if this is your rarity of choice or preference, as the card at one point was double digits, but right now it's around 50% down, 40-50%. So I think that's very well. Then you have Joko. I want your opinion on Joko. You know, max rarity. You said that you don't mind, you don't really care, you use supers, you're fine, but you know, the max rarity right here is $40. It has been crashing down even with volume coming up. I mean, have you seen the card in person? You're a K9 player. Do you like it? You know, what do you want it? Do you have it? You know, let's just hear your thought process on Ultimate Rare K9 66A Joko.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about products, like the OTS package, I think is something that's kind of struggled in terms of finding its place in the past, like probably a year or two. But this is, I think, like the exact type of card that should be in this pack. Is like we see Joko, we see Cups, Yummy, we see Ketsu. Like these are like premier, top of the line engine cards that did not get a premium rarity in their respective sets, and now are giving these products some kind of value. So this is, I think, exactly what this should look like. And yeah, I've seen it in person. It looks fantastic. Again, not the kind of guy that's gonna go out of my way to spend the money for it. I'm content with the supers, but I think the card looks good. And like this is, again, like when I'm deciding like, oh, am I gonna like try and get rid of my OTS packs, like trade them in for value or whatever with my friends, or am I gonna actually open them to try and like pull something like this? Like it's the type of card that actually is worth me opening the pack like this. Like obviously we had like the Blue Eyes back in the past. Like obviously anything involving Blue Eyes is just gonna be worth it, but this is the type of like competitive, relevant card that should be in these packs, and it's obviously showing that.
Yeah, for sure. Great take when it comes to Joko. You know, the fact that you actually played the card, and yeah, great take on OTSs. They should find a way to, just include more value inside these OTSs. Again, with more chase cards that the competitive players going to these events, you know, they're going to want to have on hand. And then we do have a case for K9. Card only has a super and a Starlight, and I think, you know, the Starlight hit 40s and beyond, and now they're back down to 25. So 47 listings if you're picking up the package. No better time. Most people play just one of these. So just make sure you get exposure to the max rarity if it's something that you want right now. At 25s is definitely not bad at all. And then we have the Crystron part. Just very briefly, you know, I mean, I'm not getting into any particular cards. Well, I mean, inclusion, I guess we can throw it in here. Got a reprint here in the same OTS pack at quarters, so nothing too relevant price-wise as it continues crashing down. But what do you think about the Crystron package? Obviously, with K9, you played the deck earlier this month. You know, how competitive it is overall. You know, are people underlooking this? Did it reach its ceiling already? Are people going to move on from this eventually, falling out of favor? Like, what's your thought process here just briefly with regard to Crystron in the current meta?
So in current meta, I think it's probably maybe at its ceiling. Like, I think Kamal's performance in Anaheim was probably at its peak. Obviously, it had Mjolnir at the times, and I think that was like the primary reason why it succeeded.
Great
so
point.
Now that it's kind of trying to fall back, like, okay, we have Spell Cancer, we have whatever else, like, but I think, like I said, like, I played my deck without Spell Cancer. I think the deck can very comfortably perform well. If you have maybe like a little bit of Duel variance in your favor, like very strong deck at going first. And one thing I'm curious to see is if this deck actually ends up performing in Genesys. Like, this is a deck that I think is a little point heavy right now. Right. But I think this is a deck and an engine that could perform pretty well over in that format. So I'm curious to see if that ends up taking place over there. But in the current meta, I think it's probably pretty comfortable, like the 5th, 6th best deck range, and very, very capable of top 32ing the YCS.
Okay.
Doing 100%. So we'll end up seeing if it ends up improving, but I think I would prefer some other K9 variants personally if I was going to play in an event.
Right. Okay, great insight. Yeah, for sure. And then moving on to the you know, side deck here, just going through a couple staples here that you decided to play. And again, just board breakers. What do you think about board breakers overall competitively? You know, again, and this was about you know, a month ago. I'm sorry, 3 weeks ago. So you know, things can change fast, like we say in the meta. But what's your thought process with board breakers? This format, obviously, hand traps you know, are the way, we understand, but also adding board breakers to the hand trap lineup, like Dark Ruler No More. We can see the secret rares are 3s. Volume has been coming in, so been telling people you don't want to be paying over $10 for a playset. So if you need your copies to pick it out, and then also the QCSRs, you know, going from 25, 26s, actually bumping up to 30s, and then quickly goes to 40. So what do you think about Dark Ruler No More, which you played at playsets, and then overall, as we can see a lot of listings here and a lot of different versions, but overall, competitively speaking, board breakers, yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the gameplay that breakers provide generally. Like, you are able to like play some interactive Yu-Gi-Oh. I think competitively right now they're not super viable for a couple different reasons. One, I think going first is just way too strong, and decks inherently like generate too much follow-up for you to actually like break their board and cut off all of the follow-up. I think that's just like kind of a problem that Yu-Gi-Oh's kind of had as of late. Like when you cleared the Fiend's 5th board, they still had Engraver and Requiem Engraver as
right.
So even if you like Dark Ruler all of their interactions, like, can you still play through the other layer of interruption on top of their follow-up? So I think it's kind of hard to to do all of that through breakers, even if you're drawing 2 and even 3 of them. So I think that's a struggle with them. Dark Ruler, I think, had its place in the meta because of its interaction with Mitsuru pairs, being able to cut off its revive effect. So Murakuma was going to be less likely to be a board wipe. So that was like the kind of niche that it provided for me and my deck list. In general, I think in hindsight, actually, Lightning Storm was maybe not the best decision. I think it was okay, maybe a little bit earlier, but moving forward, I think it's a card that probably will drop off in play just because of Draco Tail and the access to Flame. Like, you're just going to trade Storm into Flame 100 times out of 100, and it's not going to provide too much value. So we'll see if this card ends up seeing more playability moving forward. But again, like, I'm a big K9 guy, right? So if I end with Izuna on my board, I can't even activate Lightning Storm. So it's probably an oversight that I didn't really think about too much in my deck building. So I like the gameplay of board breakers. The one other small thing I'll add is the time relevancy. If you're playing a 50-minute round and the match not completing is a double game loss, or double match loss, sorry, then you can't always guarantee that you're going to be able to complete your going second board breaker strategy in 50 minutes. So because you have to allow them to play their entire turn out. So just another small competitive thing to keep in mind. Like, I enjoy, like I said, the gameplay that these provide, but I think currently they generally struggle if that is the entire strategy you do. I think Triff obviously has some success with it, so it is competitively viable, but I think it is definitely the exception and not the rule.
Here we go. Great insight when it comes to Lightning Storm as well. You know, definitely a card that came back to 3 in the ban list before the e-ban list. So yeah, I mean, the OGs are around $20, low 20s, not bad. You do have the alternate art quarter century secret rares as well, and then plenty of options to get access to the card. Just a card that, you know, being at 3, definitely, of course, is format dependent, just like most other staples, but definitely not bad to get exposure if you really need the card. And then obviously Ghost Bell, as we can see here, at 2s, and then Meows, which is getting the reprint very soon. Just your thought process. I wanted to ask you, because I feel like Meows is just a card, again, this was a couple weeks ago, but still is a card that everyone has forgotten about. It's like the forgotten Molcharmy, that's what I call it. Everyone just uses Perulia for Wallace. We get it, they're the better ones, but you played it in your side deck. Just overall, I want to hear your thought process on Meows, and obviously Bell as well. Right here, as we can see, $55 for the quarter century. Volume has been coming in, so definitely one to consider if you need access to it. But yeah, what do you think about these 2 hand traps that you had in your side deck?
So ironically, I actually main deck Meows in Pittsburgh. Like, I thought that card was positioned rather well. It has a lot of viability into the Mitsurugi Yumi deck. And I was playing Izuna, so I was like, okay, if I play Izuna for Draco Tail, then I can play Meows for the Mitsuyumi deck and some of the other decks that like Malice as well. So that was my primary argument behind it. I think actually for Pittsburgh specifically, and maybe a little bit prior and maybe a little bit after, Meows is technically better than Perulia just because of it hitting Mitsurugi Yumi and also Malice. And again, if you're not going to respect Malice's Lancia, having the Meows in your side deck I think is a very nice
at the very least
to be able to hit that and in some of the other decks. So I like Meows. It is, I think, positioned rather well right now. We'll see if that shifts. Now that Draco Tail is obviously a better deck, and that's where Ghost Bell, I think, comes in. Ghost Bell has a lot of playability in Draco Tail. Obviously, you hit the trap cards. You can stop Urgula in Graveyard to add back 5 mana. And then, obviously, against a deck like Malice, it can hit their Bestials in hand. It can hit March Hare in hand. And, like, White Binder's effect on field. So, not super relevant in that regard, but it also hits their field spell. So I think this card is just, in general, very versatile right now. It's not as good as Ash Blossom because obviously Ash Blossom hits the Molcharmies, but in terms of it being viable against every deck and having at least some level of utility, I think if you're looking to main deck hand traps, this is probably on the short list of cards that are worth main decking.
There we go. Just great take when it comes to the hand traps that you actually played yourself. And just wanted to advise that, yeah, look, people are realizing that the common is $8-10, but for the secret rare Meows, people are coming in and they're devouring this card. So pretty soon it could go back up to 40s and even $50. So, I mean, it's probably something we just talked about recently about this card. So it's something that is happening literally as we're recording right now. So if you can get access to this, locally trade, or, you need this card, if you're going to want the high rarity, then this one is making moves. It has seen play across the month, since early November here in this deck, obviously with Aaron's deck, and then just throughout, like you mentioned, in Pittsburgh as well. So definitely a card to consider. Again, maybe these are signs. The secrets are going up. Maybe, just maybe, these commons will turn out to be a great investment. Once hopefully they hit around $5, even as a common. Once the set ages, I think this could be a double-digit common with the Molcharmy. So definitely something to keep in mind. And before we actually talk about the last card here, I just wanted to ask, if you believe it's important to understand the financial value of the cardboard that we all buy, play, and love. I mean, there's people out there, maybe they just want access to the card. If they have it, they don't really care about price. Of course, everyone should be, consider obviously the money they pay for cards. Maybe you can get more copies for the same money, or just save money overall that you can use for something else. But, there's people, they don't mind. Hey, I want the max rarity. I'm paying a premium. Hey, I don't care about price. I need the Meows right now. I'm going to buy them right here at pre-sales. I don't care that they're $5 a week from now or 2 weeks from now. I just need it now. So what's your thought process? Not just, again, from the competitive aspect, but collectability. We talked about the rarity collection. So just putting it all together, the market angle of things, because you're competitive. A lot of competitive players out there. Most people don't really pay too much attention to the markets. Everyone just feels like they just get what they need and move on with it. But I believe there's more value, more nuances, more intricacies, obviously, to the market and the cards that we love. But what's your thought process overall with regards to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say historically I would be on that side of, like, I don't really care too much, like, I'll pay whatever it's worth, and then ideally try to recoup some of my value. So I've been on both sides, and now that I'm doing content and I do enjoy the game and want to be able to play this game for years to come, I'm a little bit more mindful of, like, the market side, and just it's not something that I invest in. Like, I don't own 2 cards. I'm not trying to, like, profit off of everything. Yes. But it's something that I'm just mindful of and try to be aware of, because even if, like, you're a competitive player and you just buy the cards, like, let's say you're going to locals consistently and winning product, and when you look at that product and you're winning 12 packs that are worth, $2 each, like, you would definitely prefer those cards to be either retail of like $4.50 or $5, right? So even if you aren't invested in, like, or you can afford to pay for whatever, like, if you're, like, some people's goal is to get a return from this game, or to be able to, like, win their decks off of it, like, you have to be mindful of that. And unfortunately, there's not too much that you can do personally to affect it.
Right.
But you can ideally be aware, and in my position as a content creator, hopefully push out a message of Konami to be like, hey, like, this is something y'all have to be aware of if your goal is longevity. And
Right.
so that is hopefully what they're working towards. Like, they just need to, I think, have a little bit more, I'm not sure what the word is, just like maybe awareness of just like the collector's market and how everything is kind of interrelated. Like, I think selling Girded Collection 3 for selling it out and doing all that is really cool for them. But also when you're looking at like, I want this game to work well over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, is that the best long-term decision? The answer is maybe not. So we'll see how they adjust. Like, if they're gonna go back to the rarity model of like QCR being actually something that's difficult to obtain and worth money, or Starlight, like however they view it. Like, there's a lot of different ways they can approach it.
Right.
Genesys hopefully alleviates some of those issues where they're able to provide products that is actually worth money over the long term. So we'll see how all of this shapes out. I think they're moving in the right direction. Like, this 5D structure deck is a good product to release. We'll see if they're able to build on top of that when it comes to like future rarity collection / tins and how they approach all of it.
For sure. Yeah, no, appreciate your insight. I mean, at the end of the day, like we say here, you know, these cards aren't free. You know, they ain't free. So if you got to pay for them, they have value, obviously. So, you know, yeah, of course, some people choose, they don't care about investing or making money, but saving money. Other people don't care about playing. They just care about the making money aspect. So one way or another, in one shape, way, or form, I believe the markets have to be relevant to the masses, or to most, in the sense, because the cards ain't free. They have value. You know, if people choose to make money or not, that's on them. But at the very least, they can save money with the cardboard that they want to purchase. So that's always the thought process here. So great insight. And then the last card here is Therion King Regulus. I mean, this card only has 3 prints. And obviously here, of course, you have the one of here. I believe it's just a great card overall. Of course, it's very niche, it's machine, and things of that nature. But yeah, this card only has 3 prints. I think it's a sleeper card, of course. These cards can get reprinted at any moment, but if it doesn't get reprinted for the foreseeable future, you know, I believe machines will always be relevant one way or another in Yu-Gi-Oh! So yeah, you played your one of. What do you think about this card? You know, only 3 versions here. We can see is in a clear uptrend since it was around $1.25, and now it's pushing 3s, and pretty soon could be 4 to 5s. Not too many like Walls of China. 47 listings. So yeah, what do you think about the card, competitively speaking, and at least price wise? It is moving on up, so there has to be a reason. So, you know, let's hear it.
So it would be because of the K9 decks and their accessibility to Infinitrack Riverstormer. This card is searchable off of that, which is a rank 5 and is adds Earth Machine. So even if you're playing like a pure K9 deck, or like pure, K9 Mitsurugi, like it's a card that you can just include and it'll add some kind of generic Omni Negate to your end board. And this is a card that may end up seeing playing Genesys. Like, we'll see if the power level gets reduced a little bit more, if like either a K9 deck that can make Riverstormer becomes better, if a pure Therion deck becomes viable. Like, that's a deck that always had some level of playability, but was never like actually competitive viable because of whatever other reason. But maybe with the Genesys card pool and like the points that are maybe a little bit favorable for it, if that deck ends up becoming something that's playable. So I think the card is cheap, probably worth the investment. Like I said, not financial advice, but if it's something that you are interested in, especially if you're in Genesys format, maybe like trying to find a way to play the Therion engine in your deck, maybe something worth looking into. And again, the card's pretty low price right now. I can't anticipate it getting a reprint. Like, if a card like Insteady still hasn't been reprinted, why would this reprint? So we'll kind of see. We'll kind of see what they end up doing in terms of reprint size over the next year. But I think this card is probably at a solid price to get invested in if you're looking for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously the card was $1, you know, and now it's up about 3x, give or take. But yeah, this could, you know, hey, $10 a place is the max that you want to pay. Don't let it go over to $5 and beyond, just off scarcity. So don't let it get too crazy. Nothing too crazy in the sense like, oh my God, we all need it, but definitely one that I believe people have forgotten about, and definitely one to consider down the line. So yeah, man, we picked your brain for over an hour here, almost an hour and 20 minutes. Really appreciate you coming on the channel. I mean, I would love to hear your feedback. Most people that come on, they don't know what to expect. They're not really market watchers, and then usually at the end they're like, wow, I had more fun than I thought, or this or that in the third. So yeah, hopefully that was the case. So guys, link in the description down below. You want to make sure, if you still made it this far onto the video, you need to subscribe right now. We're gonna have that first link here ready for you guys to go. Hey, 2K, it needs to be around the corner. We picked this brain for over an hour, and just amazing, covered it all. The markets, competitive, big big events, traveling, collabing with big content creators, guys. You can't get more, you know, of Aaron, in the sense that you have to subscribe right now, man. You just have to. So yeah, man. And again, good luck on your content creation journey. Really appreciate you hopping on the channel. It was super fun. Nice to meet you briefly in person. Look forward to, you know, just catching up again at our next event, that whenever we meet up. But yeah, thought process wise about, you know, the markets right now as we stand, just the experience overall hopping on the channel. Any last words before we get out of here?
No, like I said, I think Konami's done a lot of good over the past year or two in terms of structure and products. Like, I think there's a little bit to be desired in terms of the market, so I hope they are able to put forth those good minds they put on their competitive, like, their pricing and all that. Like, they've done a lot of good in terms of ban list and pricing, so let's hope that they can put some of those good thoughts towards market and making sure that this game is able to be viable over the long term for both us as players and investors, and then also stores, so they're able to maintain those products for us to work with.
For sure. Yeah. So again, thanks for hopping on. Appreciate your insight with the markets and just overall your experiences as of late competing at Yu-Gi-Oh events. It was great just being able to pick your brain, and hopefully, you know, again, first time, hopefully not the last, for sure. And yeah, any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No, it was a pleasure, my friend. I can't wait to do this in the future, and I'll see you at whatever the next event is that we're attending.
Probably Richmond, but we'll see. Sounds good, man. So again, all right, guys, with that said, thank you so much for your time, for your support, for your attention. Stay fresh.